The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." And he called to him his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every disease and every affliction. The names of the 12 apostles are these: first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out, instructing them, "Go nowhere among the Gentiles, to enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and proclaim as you go, saying, 'The kingdom of heaven is at hand.' Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You received without pain, give without pain." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Pretty often it happens to us when we are struck with whatever difficulties in life. We ask the question, how am I to deal with this problem? For example, if you're an individual who is struggling with an addiction or problem in relationship, how do I overcome this problem? Or even as a family, when you struggle with whatever the situation you have, the question is, how are we to overcome this problem? Or not only as individuals, families, but even as nations and countries. We often ask, how are we to get out of this situation? Now, we as a nation have become bankrupt. We say that we have become a failed nation. So the question is, how are we to overcome this situation? How is often asked. The great philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who lived in the 20th century, a man who had deep reflections on life, and especially problems and difficulties in people's lives, he often said, in order to find the answer to the question how, you have to find the answers to the question why. If you know why you are in a situation, you will know how to come out of the situation. Whether it is an individual, a family, or even a country, we often do not ask the serious question, the profound question, why is it happening to me in this time? Why is it happening to our family in this way? Why is it we are in this situation as a country? If you know the answer to the question why, you know the answer to the question how. When you reflect through the readings, my dear friends, all three readings, though from different times in the history of the people of Israel, the answer to the question how is found because the question was asked why. The first reading, taken from the book of Exodus, goes back to the time when the people of Israel had come out from their slavery in Egypt. Because when you read the Old Testament, the main event in the people's lives, or the people of Israel, was the Exodus. Because even to this day, for Judaic people, it is the book of their history and their teachings in their morality. So when the people of Israel had suffered in the land of Egypt, people never asked the question, why is it that we became slaves in Egypt? Because they did not ask that question, they did not even know how to come out of it. So therefore, the author of the book of Exodus tells us as to how Moses is being told by God, because Moses was the man who was chosen to address the situation, save the people, and become the leader. But still, people never seriously ask this question, why is it that we became slaves? So the answer to the question, how to come out of this whole situation, and also predicting the future, Moses is told by God, now tell your people that if they have God as their center, if they have a sense of divine commandments, if they have a sense of authority of God, they will never fall into slavery. And that is why God tells him, tell them, and that they are called to be in a relationship with their Creator. So therefore, my dear friends, for the people of Israel, the answer to the question how to come out, how to stay as a nation was given, because the question why they became slaves was answered by God. So therefore, the people were given how to be a free people, how to be a land of freedom. But then, as it often happens, people, or we as human beings, we don't ask the question why. Why is it we are in this situation? The second reading, taken from the letter of St. Paul to the Roman community, is also again Paul writing about his own life as a Jew, because he was a member of Judaism. He was a charismatic leader. He was someone who got involved in the killing of others. Why? Because he never asked the question, why am I doing these killings in the name of religion? When you become a religious fanatic, they never teach you to ask these questions. Why am I doing what I do? Or why am I not doing what I'm not doing? When you don't have that questioning, my dear friends, the end result is fanaticism and lunacy. So Paul, having gone through his own experience, now writing to the people in Rome, and he says, here I have become a man who has found my own faith. Now it is Christ, not my religion, not the teachings of the law, not the tradition that we are supposed to follow, but then it is now my relationship with the risen one. So therefore, my dear friends, for all of us in this life, it is important as we journey through different stages, as we confront situations in life, wherever we are, whatever the condition, whatever the circumstances, to always have that reflection for ourselves. Why am I going through this situation? Why are we in this mess? Why is it that we have become such a failed population of people? Then, how is answered? Now, when you come to the gospel passage according to Matthew, where Jesus is again explaining to his own disciples what his own analysis of his own society is. Because when you're living in a country with people, it is important you see through what's going on. because the text says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Now, this is where Jesus' reflection about what's happening to his own people was questioned. He asked the question why, and so therefore he observed why people are suffering. Now, normally when we interpret this text, traditionally in the Catholic churches, it is always interpreted as if people who are called are the religious men and women, because the saying is, pray that the God of the harvest will send laborers into his house. Now, obviously, when Jesus was praying or talking about it, he was not referring to religious communities, because in the life of Jesus, there was nothing called Catholic priesthood. There was nothing called religious life. Jesus was someone who was challenging the religious life at his time. So therefore, Jesus was seeing how there was so many people who were like sheep without shepherds. Now, what was he observing? There were the political leaders, useless. There were those who were doing whatever they did for the Roman Empire because it was to their advantage, because they were receiving luxuries when they became slaves of the Roman Empire. So the political leaders were no good. The religious leaders were even worse, because the Pharisees and the Sadducees were conniving with the Roman leaders. So Jesus saw, here he has his own country, his own people who are suffering. Why? There were no leaders. There were no authentic men and women who were giving leadership to the people. So seeing this, he says, harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. My dear friends, history repeats itself all the time. In every time of history, there is always the shortage of authentic men and women to give leadership, to become shepherds, whether it is political or even religious. We have all kinds of crooks in every place of society like ours. But then, the problem is, we don't ask, as Nietzsche says, why are we suffering? Why are we in this situation? We have to ask the question, why? And Jesus, seeing the answer to the question, why was there social injustice? Why the people were harassed? Why the people were oppressed? He says the answer, how? Pray. The Lord of the harvest may send laborers to serve his people. Isn't it the problem, my dear friends, even for us? We as a failed nation, we ask the question, now who's going to lead us? Where are authentic men and women to take leadership? Who is the one who is suitable to be our leader, or to be the leader of this country, or the leaders of this country? There isn't any. So, as Jesus said, pray to the Lord of the harvest that there will be authentic laborers. And now, my dear friends, when Jesus is calling his own disciples to be the leaders or to be laborers in the harvest of the people, he tells them, I send you now and preach the kingdom to the people. Now, it's very interesting when you analyze the words in Greek language. When Jesus uses the word, I send you, the meaning of sending is that you become completely selfless for your people. Don't think of what you want to have, what you want to wear. Don't think of how people or how you're going to take care of yourself, but be authentic servants. That is what, my dear friends, the answer to the question why, the answer, how is given. We always have to remember that lack of leaders or shortage of people who are worthy of leadership is always a problem in every society, in every time of history. Let therefore that we become aware and conscious of what is going on in our time of history, and continue to pray that God may send true people to lead us into our future, especially our younger generations to the future, so that God's kingdom may come a reality in our midst.